Hi, this is your host Apnil Bhartiya and welcome to State of Energy. We are here at John Hopkins University in Washington DC, and today we have with us Katie Soroye, VP of Granular Procurement Solutions at LevelTen Energy. Katie, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us a bit about LevelTen Energy. What do you folks do?
Sure. So, LevelTen Energy is focused on accelerating the clean energy transition. Many of folks know us from our work in developing the first marketplace for power purchase agreements back in 2018 that helped to accelerate the corporates being able to achieve their annual procurement goals. And now I'm leading an effort as we're helping to accelerate the transition towards more granular procurement solutions.
Can you talk about, when you talk about clean energy transition, what exactly do you mean by that?
Sure, sure. So I think when we think about clean energy transition, really the goal is how do we decarbonize the grid at scale? And one powerful aspect of that has been the leadership shown by voluntary corporate actors who have said, we're going to set ourselves and hold ourselves accountable for achieving ambitious next generation procurement goals because we think we have a role to play in accelerating that.
You talked about, that corporations are voluntary. What is driving this?
Sure. I think for many of us, we all realize that climate action can't wait and we need to take action. And I think it's also, an indication from these corporate voluntary actors that there's gaps today in the data and infrastructure that we need to accelerate these solutions. And that's one of the reasons why I was really excited to come to the first ever Open Sustainability Policy Summit, because this has been a place where we're really diving into that intersection of both technology, policy, and then the human change management role, which cannot be understated.
What kind of resources were available to these corporate players when they did want to transition? And did you see back then that there was a lot of roadblocks, pain points? That's when the LevelTen entered the picture, or you felt that the road was always paved, we just are another vendor?
I mean, I think we all wish the road was always paved, but that is certainly not the way it is. And I think for all of us, it's recognizing some of these things are going to be hard and require work. And that's the reason why we've got to step up to do that. So specifically, what we have found is that there have been some gaps in a transition to going from sort of an annual accounting of renewable energy to a more granular goal that might be looking at it from an hourly matching or an emissionality standpoint. The good news is there's things like a standard from the nonprofit energy tag, a global standard that can be used for accounting for granular certificates. But getting that out in the world is not a fait accompli. There's existing tracking systems and registries that need to be brought on board. There's challenges at times with data and systems. And then, of course, the human factor of getting people on board with change. And I think that's what's most exciting about some of these opportunities ahead.
You also mentioned that earlier you folks built a marketplace for them. Talk a bit about that marketplace and how mature is it now?
Yeah, so this is a nascent market that we are looking to launch later this year in partnership with the Intercontinental Exchange ICE for the trading of granular certificates. And I think in all of the best ways, LevelTen often has seen gaps and said things aren't there. And rather than sort of sitting on our hands and being like, what are we going to do? We say, what can we do to help bring people together, convene, and accelerate and moving forward? And I think that's very much the spirit in which all the folks gathered here today are really looking to say, what else can we do and where can we draw that inspiration to move forward?
And since you mentioned this policy event here, and you also said that a lot of corporate players there were doing it on voluntary basis, but are there any push incentives or punishments from government side also,
Yeah.
which kind of drove?
Yeah, so it's such a great question. So initially, we were motivated by sort of the voluntary actors in this market and this push towards granular certificates and hourly matching. Interestingly, we're also seeing push from things like the 45V proposed rulemaking for hydrogen production tax credit that has an hourly component. So if that were to stay in, that could be a tremendous sort of mandate that's helping to bring additional demand forward on this. And so, we're starting with the voluntary, but we see a convergence with compliance markets and compliance activities.
In the recent couple of years, where either is policy making, policy changing, where either you are encouraged or discouraged that hey, we are moving in the wrong direction because this is a bigger crisis, or you're like no, finally we have good leadership, we are moving in that direction. Where are we?
Oh, oh. I think there are so many important issues, facing the world right now, and climate change is one of them. And I think we're seeing some good direction and fits and starts. But quite frankly, I think we need to accelerate at all levels, globally, nationally, stateside, and locally what we're doing, and also as individuals, because we need to be working and harmonizing all of these actions together to make sure that we aren't just taking the status quo, but we are accelerating our progress on decarbonization.
What kind of engagement are you seeing between public sector and private sector?
It's really encouraging to see the interactions between the private and the public sector, around issues for climate action and sustainability. And I think it's this collective reminder that we can't wait. We need to work together. We need to be creative problem solvers. We need to understand the nuances of different positions and where there may be differences. And then ultimately, we need to find common ground and move forward.
Since you folks build marketplace clean certificates, is it when it comes to clean energy procurement, it really doesn't matter, or some states they get more sun, some states get no sun, some states always covered in snow, so you cannot have solar there. How do you see to maintain a balance? It doesn't matter the region.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So with our work on granular certificates, it actually aligns with some of the existing tracking systems and registries that were put in place first to manage state renewable portfolio standard compliance, and have also been used and expanded to cover voluntary corporate action. Because one of the most important things with a market is ensuring environmental legitimacy. So we certainly don't want to have a project listed one way, here and another place here, and have people double counting on it. And so I think sort of the unique opportunity that we're seeing now is how can we take some of these existing legacy systems that were built for a different purpose and help future-proof them to support this transition to more granular accounting. And much as you were saying, all generation tracking. So yes, there's wind and solar, but there's other carbon-free resources and other technologies like storage that can be meaningfully deployed. And we just need to make sure we have our systems and data ready to help support that transition.
Can you also talk about the role that you see of LF Energy in being a catalyst to bring all those players together?
Yeah, well, I think it's a great question, and I think today's event is an excellent example of that of a catalyst role that LF Energy can play in bringing together folks from across policy, technical, business spectrums to talk about what are some of the common challenges we're facing, what are some of the common areas of need we have, and how and where can we work together. And I think, now more than ever, that spirit of collaboration is something that we all really need so that we can help to advance and accelerate climate action.
We are here this event. This is the first day of the event, if I'm not wrong. Tomorrow we have another day of event. So far, what has been your takeaway? What kind of discussions you have? What kind of pain point that you see from the policymaker? Because every kind of person is here.
Yeah.
I just want to know your takeaway from this event.
Yeah. So I think one of my takeaways from this event was the napkin drawing that was shown earlier in one of the morning sessions that was highlighting just the complexity of the different systems that we have working together. And I think it's a reminder that policy and policy implementation doesn't exist in a vacuum. And we really need to be bringing a systems-oriented view in terms of all of the change that we need to help coordinate and lead forward for successful achievement of policy goals.
As you're already saying, there are a lot of things going on in this world right now. There are much bigger problems, wars are going on, we should be concerned about.
Yep.
But energy is also, this climate is also, if there's no earth, nothing else is going to matter. When I look at a lot of left energy efforts and initiative, while they can be about solving one problem for TSOs, DSOs or whatever, but when we have a holistic view, it's also a big effort towards combating climate crisis. What role do you see of LF Energy in this fight against climate crisis, and also of efforts that you folks are doing?
Yeah, so I think right now we're facing an increasingly interconnected world where challenges that we see in one area have residual impacts everywhere. And so I really applaud the effort that LF Energy is taking to help accelerate and understand what some of the challenges we were having right now in terms of not just motivating, but actually achieving some of the climate action we're looking towards and really bringing together for that. And then recognizing that if you step back and look at, a global human history, certainly the quest for energy and that interconnectedness on human development, cannot be, understated. And so I think there's a way in which, LF Energy is really helping, to promote human advancement and recognizing the role that energy plays within that.
Katie, thank you so much for taking time out today, and of course, talk about this important topic. Thanks for all those great insights, and I would love to chat with you again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.